Here at CBR, there's only one thing we love more than a great villain: seeing them get absolutely clobbered. It's no secret that Marvel's Loki is a huge fan favorite, and like many villains, he's a bit full of himself. This makes it all the more satisfying when he's finally overpowered. Before we get started, subscribe to CBR and ring that little bell to join our notification squad so you never miss a video. Without further ado, here are some times where Loki got absolutely wrecked.
Sorry about that time. I turned you into a frog. It was a wonderful joke.
Thor croaks. Did you catch the comic book reference in the movie Thor Ragnarok? At one point, there's a passing mention of Loki once turning his brother into a frog. While many fans may have dismissed this, it did actually happen in a comic entitled Thor Croaks. Loki turns Thor into a frog and creates a fake Thor to rule Asgard. Despite being an amphibian and going through a very strange side story involving many animals, Thor is ultimately able to wield Mjolnir once again. The Frog of Thunder then laid waste to his brother. Losing a fight to your sibling is always embarrassing, but it has to be even more so when they're a frog.
Why don't you open these bracelets and we'll see who's made of what?
Torn apart. Loki and Wolverine are two characters who don't run into each other very often, but they did when Wolverine got his hands on the Space Infinity Stone. This attracts the attention of our favorite trickster, who hopes to gain possession of the stone for himself. Clearly, Loki didn't know that when you mess with Wolverine, you get the claws. But we bet he knows that now, especially considering the fact that Wolverine absolutely tore him apart and even impaled his eyes with his claws. This one-sided battle was especially brutal, even by comic book standards. Apparently, Logan feels that when taking down an immortal, it's best not to take any chances.
I plan to humiliate my brother Thor, destroy the Avengers, and seize control of the 9 realms.
Loki for president. As much as we love Loki, most fans are in agreement that we wouldn't want him actually ruling us. Vote Loki is a 4-part comic series where Loki runs for president of the United States. If that sounds crazy, well, it absolutely is. Naturally, Loki runs on a platform of lies and tries to pretend that he has the nation's best interests at heart. However, he ends up failing spectacularly and publicly and has to concede the election. But in a classic Loki twist, it's implied that he may have had ulterior motives during his campaign, and maybe his crushing defeat was planned all along.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Ultimate enemy. It's clear that Loki thinks very highly of himself, and this makes this defeat particularly memorable. Following a Skrull invasion, a group formed called the Dark Avengers and set their sights on bringing ruin to Asgard. This sort of plot was right up Loki's alley, so of course he was eager to help out. Eventually, the assault on Asgard was underway, and this time it seemed as if it would succeed. When faced with something he had always wanted, Loki did the most shocking thing possible and had a change of heart. He sacrificed himself to save Asgard, with his last words being, "I'm sorry, brother."
But we're royalty. We're not equipped to handle adventure.
Growing up. Although Loki's sacrifice seemed noble at the time, he did have an ulterior motive. By giving up his life, he could be reincarnated without previous knowledge of his misdeeds. He was reborn as the precocious and innocent Kid Loki, but that wasn't the end of the complicated adult Loki. His personality was saved inside of his raven, Ecole, who manipulated Kid Loki into doing his bidding. Not only did fans love Kid Loki, but Thor did as well, making his ultimate defeat even more heartbreaking. Unlike his adult form, Kid Loki gave up his life to destroy an evil artifact that would have harmed many people. This brought back adult Loki, but meant that his childish form was gone forever.
I wouldn't worry, brother. I feel like everything's gonna work out fine.
Infinity War. By this time, we're sure you've said goodbye to many of your beloved characters after watching Avengers Infinity War. But unlike many of our heroes, Loki didn't go so quietly into the night, or fade slowly into non-existence as the case may be. Loki learned the hard way that there are some people you just can't double-cross, and Thanos is one of them. Moments after pledging his loyalty, Loki approached Thanos with malicious intent, and Thanos wasn't fooled for a moment. His defeat of Loki was so brutal that it caused many fans to wonder if this was really it for our favorite Asgardian villain.
I hadn't figured out how best to slay you. I hoped an idea would just come to me.
Loki the Unicorn. Sure, it's satisfying to see an enemy get smashed to bits, but sometimes the best defeat is psychologically brutal. In Loki, Agent of Asgard number 8, Loki and some of his fellow villains get a chance to play hero for a little while. But thanks to Red Skull, the role reversal gets a bit more permanent. After the inversion, Loki becomes a hero, which is clearly very uncharacteristic. As if this wasn't humiliating enough, he then gets turned into a unicorn with a rainbow mane and tail. We can't imagine that Thor ever lets him live that one down. We've heard of killing your enemies with kindness, but turning them into a unicorn works as well.
That's how it feels!
I'm just a huge fan of the sport.
Puny God. Loki's plans have been known to backfire on him, and sometimes they do so in a spectacular fashion. In fact, it's really due to Loki that the Avengers exist at all. Some of Earth's greatest heroes got together in order to defeat him, and then discovered that they work pretty well together. One member of the Avengers is the Incredible Hulk, who is as powerful as he is unpredictable. In the movie Avengers, we saw Loki proudly declare that he's a god, which failed to impress Hulk in any way, shape, or form. In fact, what followed was an unrivaled beatdown of Loki. And to add insult to injury, Hulk exclaimed that Loki is a puny god.
Last time I saw you, you were trying to kill everybody. Where are you at these days?
It varies from moment to moment.
Heads will roll. Saying that Loki and Thor have a bit of a sibling rivalry going on is an understatement. The animosity they have for one another came to a head during the end of a storyline called Thor Disassembled. As usual, Loki is up to no good, trying to bring about the end to all of the Asgardian realm. Thor naturally is trying desperately to prevent this, and his rage at Loki grows totally out of control. Now, Thor has bested Loki an innumerable amount of times, but this time was a bit different. Thor straight up ripped Loki's head off of his neck. To add insult to injury, Thor then wore Loki's head as an accessory by affixing it to his belt.
I thought you were a Valkyrie.
Fight of the Valkyrie. Besides his magical powers, Loki is probably best known for his cleverness and scathing tongue. But sometimes that attribute gets him into a little bit of trouble. In Thor Ragnarok, Loki is sent to find Thor and the Hulk with a woman who isn't charmed by his good looks. When Loki feels insulted by her words, the two get into a fight, and the god of mischief is taken down with shocking ease. Due to this, he deduces that he's dealing with a Valkyrie, part of a legion of elite female warriors. It isn't the most epic fight of all time, but it must have been embarrassing to have his back up against the wall as a result of one woman with a knife.
You know, it all makes sense now. Why you favored Thor all these years.
And there you have it. What do you think about these epic Loki battles? Or beatdowns? Did we miss your favorite Son of Odin smackdown? Let us know in the comments section below, and please subscribe to CBR to make sure you get the latest updates. Thanks for watching.